the recent statistics by the Bureau of Statistics that Nigerians' unemployment rate has declined to 4.1%, and we'll be analyzing how we can revamp that and move it higher, or rather lower, just so that we will see more Nigerians getting employed and indeed boosting our GDP. And we have a financial analyst and modeler in the studio. He's also the CEO, HAMAJ Consulting, Galadima JC. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Right. Okay, welcome to Asa Morning. I'm looking at these figures, 4.1%. I mean, in 2020,
yes.
It was 33.3%.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we haven't had regular, predictions or statistics released about our unemployment rate. Now, when I was reading about this topic, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics are saying that 4.1%, they've used a different yardstick. They've used different metrics to measure it up. However, when I look at 4.1%, it means that Nigeria as a country doesn't have any unemployment problem. So we're very correct. But the realities you and I know are not reflecting that. So how come that 4.1% decline? If Naya is not adding it up in her head.
Just like any other Nigerian on the street out there may actually tell you they don't feel this is realistic. That is just common sense. However, like you have rightly mentioned, they had changed the modalities and the techniques used in those calculations and all that. Now, earlier than now, before they used to have where they measure the number of unemployed persons as somebody who works less than 1 to 19 hours in a day. Right.
Okay.
Good. And then an underemployed person is somebody who works less than 40 hours in a week. You get. But this time around, they are making the methodology to be that each person who works for less than an hour or just within an hour, within an hour is considered to be an employed person. And to even take a start, the statistics for me as an analyst, I know it's not just too real. It's not real. And the sample size they collected, because going by their data, they collected about 35,520 households. That was the sample they used. And statistically, this is very, very imbalanced and incorrect.
Okay.
Given the population we have, given the workforce we have, they don't need to tell you and I the number of graduates that are being pulled out every year from higher institutions.
Yes.
Take it maybe NCE, take it BSc, take it HND, and so and all whatnot. Now, you can see that the 35,000 households that were used as a benchmark for sample is really not realistic. Therefore, that is why any good analyst would tell you that that number 4.1 it's not just realistic.
Okay.
It's really interesting. I don't want to use several other words that are coming to mind. But what do you think is the danger of having this kind of unemployment data out there?
You see, it's unfortunate that Mr. President Bola Tinubu has just come into power. And he is coming in at the heave of such untrue statistics. Now, the president will be working with this as though that is the authentic, actual data that is available. And of course, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is an authority in its own, because every researcher out there goes there, get their data, uses it to work. Now, the president, I believe, will be misled by these statistics. And therefore, opportunities that are supposed to be given, opportunities that are supposed to be opening for the workforce out there would not be there anymore. Okay, considerably, we may say that the number of unemployment maybe declined to some extent by that 2022. And I don't need to tell you that at the third quarter of 2022, to the first quarter of 2023, it was an electionary period. Therefore, there are tendencies that monies will be injected into the system. There are tendencies that activities will be flowing here and there, you understand? And then, given the nature of works they have, being that anybody who works for an hour or 40 hours within a week, an hour in a day, and then 40 hours in a week, you can see that within that period and the kind of activities that are ongoing there, of course, it will jack up.
Right.
Therefore, it will affect that statistics that was given.
Yeah.
However, after that, what next? A lot of people are out of job today.
Yeah.
In fact, I may not need to tell you that some of your staff here today, I'm sure some of them don't come to work as regular. If this was a public institution, as is out there, other public institutions, people don't go to work regularly.
It is a public institution.
Yes, okay.
It is owned by the Federal Capital Territory.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's a government-owned media house.
Okay, good. Yes, but however, one good thing about the media houses and the banking sector, they don't misbehave. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Other
Sectors.
Do you get? Now, in some sectors in Nigeria today, some people are forced to leave their work.
Yes.
So what's causing this low productivity?
That is the question where the Bureau of Statistics didn't even take to cognizance.
No, the Bureau of Statistics is saying that what they used this time around was the LFS, which is the labor force survey.
Yes.
And inside this labor force survey, what they had done to get to this 4.1% is that normally when we do, of course, the statistician general also added his voice to it, that normally when we carry out the survey to get the unemployment rate in Nigeria, we only focus mainly on paid employment, gainful employment. You understand? Like here, you're government worker, you get your salary at the end of the day, or you're working in the private sector.
Yes.
However, what the argument is that we haven't taken into cognizance the people who are employers of labor, people who are self-employed, which also makes up a huge percentage, more than the people that are actually paid by the government. So that's where they're getting this figure of 4.1. Okay. But of course, you're the modeler, so tell us.
Okay, I want you to take something. There's something you left out in their projection.
Yes.
Now, the informal sector was also considered.
Yes.
The underemployed are considered. Yes. Now, in fact, it would be right for us to want to understand what is, by the definition, who is an employed person? By that definition, anybody who works within an hour, right, for a pay, whether salary, wage, as the case may be. And then an underemployed person is somebody who works within 40 hours
in a week.
Yes, right?
Yes.
Now we have the informal sector. People who work within the informal sector, they are also taken into cognizance. Those are people that you've called. Some people who sell, say this woman who sells akara by the roadside, a woman who hawk her ogu, and so on, right?
Is she not employed?
She is employed.
Exactly.
That is what they're saying. Do you understand?
That's what they're saying.
Now, if all these are put into consideration, you can now agree with me that 35,520 sample, household sample, that
is not an adequate
figure. In fact, after this, when I got those data, I made some analysis to it. Not just looking at the percentage difference, but I look at the predictive differences, and I see that it is just not true, because the trend of activities, the trend of flow, overshot, and therefore, as a modeler, it calls me to question the credibility of the data. Okay. So I strongly believe that this data is not sufficient. This data is not data that we can say we want to use for anything important for developmental drive in Nigeria. Now, like your colleagues rightly asked, she asked the cause for the low productivity. I'm sorry to say that some of our youths who went to school, unfortunately, they may not be able to be to use their skill efficiently on what they have learned. Therefore, they are subject to go to any other form of businesses that may not be productive and therefore will lead it to underemployment.
Yes.
Do you understand? So supposing the educational system in Nigeria we have and is injected with all the requisite requirements, unlike this kind of unlike these incessant strikes that we see and all that, therefore bringing out half-baked graduate and all that, you can see that it's definitely going to affect productivity and all that. So if at all the productivity must grow, then government must efficiently look at the educational sector and ensure that technology and skill of youths and students are being given due attention to. And I believe in no distant time, the productivity of every individual as a graduate or as a worker, as the case may be, would definitely improve over time.
What's giving you this confidence? I
He's
apologize.
a modeler. Go ahead.
But what are those KPIs, the key performance indicators, that's making you this confident that in no distant time those students, or rather graduates who are churning out, would have improved employment?
Yes, you see, there's something that is common in Nigeria. Every Nigerian is a hustler. Every Nigerian that you see has the drive to always want to thrive in anything he or she finds his or herself doing. Therefore, nobody, and then no graduate, an average graduate, would want to graduate and not be able to perform. So I have confidence in Nigerian youths. I have confidence in Nigerian education system and the quality of lecturers we have out there. So I have confidence that if due attention is given, I can assure you that in no distant time, Nigeria will be a great place.
I'm happy you're talking about, the educational sector and we're relating it to job. But I think that there's a dire need for us to revamp and reorientate our curriculum.
That's
in
absolutely
the primary
true.
schools, in the secondary schools, and especially in the university.
That's true.
And then why do I say that? Because I believe that most people, when I was in school, the idea is that once I come out of school, there's a job waiting for me. Once I come out of school, I'm writing CVs and then sharing them around and so on. And that is the mentality and ideology of most graduates in the country. And that's because the university system itself is not developing business idea people.
Yes.
The university system is not developing investors. The university system is not developing people who come out with the mindset that, look, I want to be an employer. Exactly, an employer of labor. I'm going to. So that's the problem we're having from the grassroots, that we need to reorientate that. Then moving along away from education, there's still within that same education, there's too much focus in Nigeria on certificates.
Yes.
As opposed
to competence,
vocation, skills.
That's true.
We have Nigerians that jackpot out of the country.
Of course.
They go to other countries, they're Uber drivers. We go to other countries, they're morticians.
That's true.
They're working in the morgues.
That's true.
They're working in the hospitals as cleaners.
That's true.
They're getting paid. And then there's dignity in labor. In those other countries. But in Nigeria, we feel that if you see a graduate as an Uber driver, he's suffering.
Yes.
He's underemployed.
Yes.
Because we have not put appreciation and value
to the service he renders.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So how do we, especially as a modeler, how do we get this? Because that's what you do. You predict and say, you have already told us that the statistics is wrong, especially when we're talking about nation building.
Yes.
The president can work on it and think he has only 4.1% unemployment. It's going to throw him off nation building in terms of creating wealth and employment for people. How can we marry all this and then get to the point where if Funaya decides, I want to be a keke napep driver, I found out that they make 30,000 every week, sometimes 40, sometimes 50. 50,000 in a week. In a month, it's 200,000. I'm not making it, and I'm a graduate.
Yes.
Do you understand?
You are very correct.
So what's the problem?
Now you made mention of something, dignity in service, right? Dignity in service. In Nigeria, it's unfortunate that sometimes the way we think, it's actually just out of this world. in that, say an Uber driver, you are right. Okay, I had to come by one public transport and I paid 2,500 naira just from Asokoro to this place. Supposing that very fellow had taken 10 people within a day, how much has he made? And then you, as somebody who works as a white-collar man, right?
Yes.
Assuming you earn 150,000 naira in a month, calculated by the number of hours,
yes,
I bet you're not any more than 185 naira per hour.
Yes.
I don't know if you get.
I agree with you.
Do you see?
Yes.
Do you see? So if really the system must grow, if the system must grow, we must really appreciate the services that are being rendered. And also, Nigerian youths, as we're coming out of school, in fact, within the school system, begin to think as an employer of labor. Now, sometimes I pity for our nation. Sometimes I pity for our nations. I remember while I was in school, some times ago, during my professional program, one of my lecturers once said that it's unfortunate that some of you will still graduate out of this institution. You may not be able to prepare a three financial statement. Do you get? Mm-hmm. As an accountant, this is what you should be able to do right from undergraduate level. Mm-hmm. Not to talk of coming to do a professional program. Therefore, it means people are just after certification, yes, but are not after the competence, exactly, the knowledge, mm-hmm, and the ability to do the work. Mm-hmm. Therefore, like you have said, I want to also pitch tent with you to say that the curriculum must be looked into, the academicians must look into the curriculum, and then the psyche of the people must also change. In fact, the parents also has duty, because I remember those days, like you've said, our parents have made us to believe, go to school, when you graduate, you come back and work, but not letting you to know that you are supposed to be an employer of
yes,
labor.
Yes.
Do you understand? So the curriculum vocations must be encouraged in schools, and then techniques and innovations also must be encouraged in schools right from the primary level. That's why sometimes the private schools we have today, look at their curriculums, some is very rich. I appreciate them because of the way they begin to, from the kindergarten, a child is begin to model to know what I want to be. In fact, those days, I'm sure if they ask you what do you want to be, you don't know.
Everybody say doctor, lawyer. That was the only.
Do you understand? That's only two professionals you know.
Everybody
do you understand?
Knew.
But this time around,
the
the children, as they are coming up, they begin to get a knowledge of, okay, there are other vocations, there are other skills, there are other professions that I can be. And within that childhood level, their psyche is beginning to embroadened and all that. So before the child gets to the higher institution, already he has been able to grasp what he wants to be for the future, and then what he will certainly be able, solutions he'll be able to provide. As Nigerian youths and as Nigerian graduates, I expect that we should be solution providers,
right,
and not waiting for solutions to be provided for. I think going to school is not just about you coming to work. It's about you to provide solutions to problems. Because until you're able to provide solutions to problems, then certainly you are not, I don't think.
Okay, so rather experts constantly tell us how technology is the next oil, is the next way countries that are serious should go. Do you think Nigerian government, and this is it's a relatively new administration, do you think we're doing well in terms of channeling our attention to cultivate what is in technology for our young people?
Let us be hopeful that the new administration will look into that direction and then key into the current drive in technology. Because, of course, gone are days whereby humans in all sectors, and every time you see them working, there are places today you see robotics that are working. Now, until Nigeria begins to look and project in that direction, and like we have concluded saying about children being modeled right from primary school, to begin to know all of this, then we are not going to go anywhere. But then I want to be hopeful on the president. I hope he may be able to do like he did in Lagos State. And then if he's able to do well at the federal level, I'm sure that technology will be driven, and technology will certainly be the next oil, like we have rightly said. So I have no doubt. I don't want to begin to have doubt on the president and his cabinet. Let's see what they will do.
Okay, let's talk about the Nigerian living standard, and I want to compare it with, our consumption standards that we have. Would you say that even though would you agree with my thoughts that we do have an unemployment rate that is worrisome?
Yes.
But would you also agree that we have an underemployment rate that is more worrisome than even the employment rate? And then why do I say that? Inflation is currently about 24 point.
Yes, about 27 also. I think
it's got up to like 27%.
Yes.
Good. So we have the highest inflation rate the country has had. Of course, it's not something that is just limited to Nigeria. Globally, there's an inflation. UK is complaining. Canada is screaming. So there are quite a lot of the countries facing that inflation. But Nigeria,
do you see the reason why that statistics cannot even be true? Because where would there be employment when there are inflations everywhere?
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. So when we're looking at that statistics and then also like 4.1, something is wrong. Nigerians are grossly underemployed because even people that are working in so many places, their take-home pay cannot take them home.
At all.
A bag of rice is ranging between 48,000, depends on what you're buying.
Yes.
A mudo of gari is 700 naira. How many would you buy?
Yes.
A mudo of beans is 1,000, 1,001.
That means you work in a day and you don't have the capacity to buy a mudo of gari.
Exactly. So should we be worried when we're having 4.1 predictions? Because if you ask me, I'm not a statistician, and I'm not, of course, a modeler like you or a financial expert, but I think that our unemployment rate might even be as high as 40-something% if you ask me.
Would I be right to mention one authority in the financial fields, please?
But that's why you're here.
KPMG.
Okay.
KPMG had made predictions. And KPMG are authorities that we respect as far as the financial sector is concerned. KPMG has predicted over 40%. I don't have their data that they use to make the analysis, but they have made their predictions for 2023. And
that
as
over
a professional,
40%, what happened?
Unemployment.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Unemployment rate.
I think we saw it in
We
the
saw it
newspaper.
because
Yes, it was on the front pages.
So
of
That's
one
why
of the
a lot of people find it very interesting that the NBS had to come quickly.
As a professional who have also believed in the credibility of KPMG and other analysts like that, I do know and believe that except and until we tell ourselves the truth about these projections that we're giving, we are not going to go anywhere as a nation. So if I were Mr. President, he has an economic team, please, he can send them to work, make proper analysis, and then be able to come up with a cogent result for him, which the nation can be able to can be able to work with. But certainly not this.
But the NBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, is saying that they use the ILO, International Labour Organization, and that was the yardstick they used to arrive here.
Agreed.
So you, as a financial expert, you're worried about it, but these are statisticians whose job it is to predict.
Okay, listen.
Yes.
At least, agreed, is the ILO, right?
Yes.
Now, they're doing this in order to be able to have alignment with other African nations and then globally.
Okay.
In accounting, we have what we call the financial reporting standard.
Okay.
That is to unify the reports so that whatever you see in Nigeria will be the same thing you see in the US, will be the same thing you see in the UK and all that, right? Now, is our standard of living, is our condition of service the same with those guys over there?
No.
Certainly not. Do you understand? So the rationale for using this number of how much does a worker earn in the US per hour, how many dollars does he earn? Do you understand? I have not made that searches, but certainly I know it's above $1.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Now, in Nigeria, you work for an hour.
12 point something, I think.
Good. Yeah. You work for an hour,
minimum.
You don't have up to $1. There are people who, okay, what is the average, we call it the minimum wage, right?
Yes.
30,000 naira. 30,000 naira is the minimum wage. Okay, if 30,000 naira is what you earn in a month, can you make this arithmetic to say 30 divided by 160 hours? Because for a month is 160 hours.
9 to 5.
So, 9 to 5, right? So can you imagine that amount? For an hour, that is what you use. That is what you get.
It's worrisome.
It's worrisome.
But we have to let you go. So what will be your final word, Galadima Jesse?
So,
what should the government be focusing on? And then the statistics you've already said as an analyst is worrisome. We can't use the yardstick of ILO and all those people to compare our unemployment rate. As a financial expert, as a modeler, what should the federal government be doing based on the current realities that we have based on unemployment in Nigeria?
Okay, I want to appeal to the president and those in authorities that we have drivers of unemployment, or rather employment, drivers of employment. They are one. We can talk about infrastructural development, right? We can talk about technology and innovations, education and development, rural development programs. All these are what should be put into considerations, and many other programs that the government can come with as an initiative, indeed, to be able to cushion this particular effect of unemployment.
Exactly.
Because truly, the rate of unemployment is very, very worrisome. You can't say that 3 out of 4 workforce persons are employed. They are not. We can't say, except there is no dignity in service, and also we are just in a modern slavery. Except you're in a modern slavery whereby you take what you see, but not what you deserve.
Exactly.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So I want to call on the government to please look into these areas of drivers, that is employment drivers I've mentioned earlier, and take a proactive measure to it, not just saying it. Let them say and then implement it. I'm happy that Governor Nyesom Wike is on the cabinet. I wish they can deploy the kind of his administration he did in Rivers State. When a president or when a governor, whoever, gives a work, go there and see for yourself that indeed this work is being implemented. Otherwise, you go back and sit in the office and they come back to just give you reports and you go by. It's just untrue. I just wish the best for the government.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much.
We've been talking with Galadima Jesse. He's the CEO, HAMAJ Consulting, financial analyst, and a modeler. Many thanks for being on ASO Morning today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.